Welcome into the Metropolitan Golf Report. I'm Skip Berkmeyer, and as this segment is called for our Metropolitan Golf Report is Skip and a Stick, where I, Skip Berkmeyer, interview people that have influence in the game of golf in St. Louis, and there is no better guy to interview for this segment than our friend Jim Mason. Before I get to Jim Mason, for just a second, I want to remind our folks of Dalhousie Golf Club, the #1 premier private club in Missouri. They do an unbelievable job from the time that you pull your car into that property to the time that you leave, whether it's the food, whether it's the ambiance, whether it's the golf. They're great people. Reach out to them. See if you can play the great Dalhousie. So I want to remind you of them. I also want to remind you of the Metropolitan Amateur Golf Association. If you need your handicap, you need anything related to the game of golf, please reach out to the Metropolitan Amateur Golf Association and Kurt Rowe. Fantastic people, fantastic organization. Now on to my guest, Jim Mason. And I there is nobody that we could probably have on that has captured everything in the game of golf. This guy has done so many different things. He's a great junior player, great amateur player, turned professional, helped start a golf club, and then for 25 years worked for Bridgestone and in that segment of golf. So we've got a lot to cover. And Jim, I really, really appreciate you joining me here on Jay's favorite line, Skip and a Stick.
Hey, thanks, Skip. Great to see you. I haven't chatted with you for a while, so this sounds like fun.
Oh, it'll be fun. I guarantee you. I think I want to start because I want to really know. I have a good perspective of, I'm 47 years old of the past, the people that came before me, and I have obviously playing with people that are the future. And I look back on your career and looking at things. How good a junior player were you that you decided to go to the University of Texas? Either it means you were really, really good, or you had a lot of confidence and realized that's where you needed to go to be a better golfer.
Well, Skip, that was the best decision I ever made. It came in kind of a funny fashion. I didn't think I was that good a player. I was fairly accomplished, but I think the fact that I had qualified for, I think 2 or 3 national juniors, that put me on the radar. But there was a guy, Ben Crenshaw's roommate at the University of Texas, was a guy named Brent Buckman from Kansas City, Missouri. And Brent was on a national championship team, and Coach Hannon down there had said, "Hey, Brent, is anybody up in your neck of the woods that you think we need to take a look at?" And so I got notified by Brent Buckman and said, "Coach Hannon might be calling you." I was planning a visit. My brother went to SMU.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wasn't going to go to SMU, but I was thinking about Houston and then some other schools. But Brent got me down there. And the minute I got down there, I was greeted by Tom Kite, Ben Crenshaw, Brent Buckman, and a defending national championship team. And I was wowed, and they thought I was good enough. They wanted me down there for 4 years, and I couldn't sign quick enough, and it was the best move I ever made.
So you signed there. So you play there for 4 years, I'm assuming, and you were on these teams with Ben Crenshaw and Tom Kite and those
guys.
Well,
Tommy had just finished.
Okay.
Ben was a junior when I was a freshman. Now, I wasn't part of that regular squad. I played, I think, in 2 or 3 tournaments my freshman year, but they were smaller events. But then I really, again, I was kind of I wouldn't call it a one-hit wonder, but I had my moments, and my game got really good my sophomore year. I was the MVP of that Texas team, named captain for my junior year, and my game just really took off starting my second year at Texas. I was on that team with Ben, but I really wasn't on that traveling 5 with him. They were really good.
I would say really good, but you got really good, as you said, and I think it leads me into another part of your amateur career that I think I really want to touch on, is the fact that you not only competed well in college, but on the national amateur scene, where you actually made a run at the U.S. Amateur. And I'd like you to tell me about that, particularly, what happened that week, because, I've played in 11 of those things, and to do what you did is unbelievably special.
And it was very special for me. it kind of came out of nowhere. I was playing very good golf. The amateur that year in 1976. And by the way, Skip, I've got 20 years on you. So, but it was at Bel Air Country Club in Los Angeles. It was all match play then. So you were flighted and everything. And I think I ended up playing 7 matches there.
Jeez.
I just got hot. I played really good. The ticket to the Masters back then was the Final Four of the U.S. Amateur. They've changed a lot of that now. The mid amateur champion can go. You have some international champions that can go. But back then, that ticket was the Final Four, and I had some really special matches. I beat I beat a guy we probably all know, Fred Ridley. He was the defending champion that year. I beat another guy who won an amateur later, was Buddy Alexander.
Oh yeah.
And then I beat a gentleman named John Fote, who I knew from college golf very well at Brigham Young, who then won the amateur the next year. So there were I had 3 pretty good victories there, along with several others. So, but that got the ticket. That got the ticket to the Masters, and that was certainly the highlight of my golf career.
Well, you get to the Masters, so you go the next year. You get the invitation in December. You're all excited. You get to go play. How many practice rounds did you go play? Did you go down there?
Lots.
Did you go down there and live?
It was interesting. The funny story. One of the fellow amateurs that I lost to in the semis to the guy who eventually won it, named Bill Sander. Mm-hmm. And there was a guy named Parker Moore who was a star at Clemson. He lost in the finals. Well, Parker Moore lived in this little bitty town in Lawrence, South Carolina, and he says he called me in February. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm sitting in a bunch of snow up here." He says, "Well, I live about 60 miles from Augusta." I said, I was looking at the map where you live, and I saw that. He goes, "Well, come on down, and we'll go over play some practice rounds at Augusta." I said, "I'll see you tomorrow." So I played I think we played 5 straight days during that visit, and then I played there were a couple. My dad worked for Monsanto. There was a couple gentlemen that were members from Monsanto that were so kind and invited me down for several practice rounds. Then, of course, as the tournament comes close, I think I ended up playing close to 20 rounds though.
That's just fantastic. So you had the experience. You had the crow's nest, and you did everything that week that you could imagine. Did you play with anybody special? Who'd you play with the first 2 days? You got me curious.
Well, the first round, they always pair an amateur with a ex-champion. Mm-hmm. And that can be good news, bad news. Mine, I thought, was very good news. I played Bob Golby. I grew up with Jay Haas. And, of course, I knew Mr. Golby. Mr. Golby knew our family. And he was a true gentleman to me. We both played very good the first round. I ended up missing the cut by 2 shots. But he couldn't have been nicer to me. I talk about my friend Parker Moore, who, same thing, we were looking at our pairings, and I remember looking over at Parker, and he turned white as a ghost, and I said, "What's going on?" Well, he got paired with Nicholas. So that's a story for a lifetime, but I don't know if I could have handled if I got paired with Nicholas. But anyway, it was a lot of fun, and I had a great pairing. The second day, I played with a guy from Arizona named Mike Morley, but missed the cut by 2. Played pretty good.
But played really well. Really well. I want to make sure I mention this, and I don't know if this is the right time or not, but I think when I think back of people that have been brothers, tandems in golf, you think of the Haas brothers, and I think of Bob and Jim Mason, and I wanted to talk about your brother, who was also a great player, passed away. I know, but I think it'd be important to talk about that. I was looking up yesterday the district championships, and then he got to like 5 finals. I mean, and he lost the whole creep 3 times in a row, that's awful on a lot of different ways, to lose the whole creep 3 times in a row. So I would like for you to talk about Bob and your brother and your relationship and your whole family, because golf is a central part of your guys' family.
Yes, there's no question. Skip, as I'm sure was with your family too, but Bobby and I he was 2 years older than I was, and he could play. He decided, I think, midway through his education at SMU that he wasn't going to turn pro, but he was a very good player down there. And as you say, in the district association tournaments, he won, I don't know, I think he won 9 club championships at Bellerive. He played in multiple U.S. amateurs, mid amateurs, so he could play, and we were very competitive, no question. We were competitive. I miss him. He did pass away, unfortunately, in 2013. But he'll Hope Green will put a lot of credit with my brother. He's saying that Bobby took him to the limit in that first district championship, and they had some tremendous matches. And he claims that Bobby was a part of the start of Jim's great run in amateur golf.
When I talked to Jim, he did mention that. He did say that, and he said it before. I've heard him say that. A true competitor. He always told me he was never afraid, which I think is a huge compliment from Jim. That's huge.
Yeah, Bobby, he wasn't afraid of anybody. He'd take on anybody and everybody. He wasn't a practicer. He didn't like hitting balls. He just liked going to play.
Well, I this kind of leads me to my other when I was talking about the different facets of you in golf, and this is when I start remembering you more, because I remembered you when you're out at Fox Run, and when we were involved in that project and starting that. I'm curious, that's a long time since that took place, and where it is today. I mean, we all know Fox Run is a part of St. Louis community, but at one time wasn't. And I think it's really cool if you talk about that, because I think it's the best logo in St. Louis, and I think it's a fantastic property that you were a part of.
Well, I'm very grateful that I got involved with Fox Run, because it got me back in the golf business. I had gotten in the insurance business, and I loved it. I loved what I was doing as I worked for Johnny Moore's father. And but David Alt and I had, the owner of Fox Run, had a relationship. And he called me one day and said, I'm building a golf course in Jefferson County. I said, I know that. And everybody knows that. He said, well, I want you to come run it. And I said, I don't know what you want me to do. I said, I'm not going to turn pro again. And we just had a long discussion. And then finally he said, go call Gary Kern. The course was about 50% finished. He said, you take a look at it. Tell me what you think. I need your help. And I rolled the dice, and I said, he gave me a fairly nice offer. And I said, thank you, Mr. Alt. You're so kind. And so I worked for him for about 4 years, and we launched that club, and it was great fun. And it's very unique, and a great entrepreneurial membership. I had a blast there. And again, it got me back into the game of golf, which then led me to Bridgestone. So,
which is, I mean, to think that you've done all this, and now then you're going to start a new venture with 25 years as a golf retail rep. I don't even know where to begin, because doing anything for 25 years is remarkable, but doing it in the golf business as a golf rep, that ain't easy, folks. I've sold that stuff. It ain't easy. And so I'm curious, you look back on how you started and where it took you. It's got to be an unbelievable flood of memories for you.
Yeah, it was. I got offered the job down at the PGA show because, again, I saw the opportunity with David kind of coming to a close. That course was up and running, and they were filling positions with with who they wanted. So I said, well, let's go to the PGA show and see what's going on down there. I went down with Alan Clark and Jody Weber, and they were looking for captive reps, meaning, that just would represent Bridgestone Golf, no other companies. And they were changing the format where they pay you a small salary and then mostly commission. But they were looking at, he said, where are you from? I said, St. Louis. He go, well, we're looking for a rep in Missouri. And that was 26 years ago. And the next day I came back and he hired me on the spot. And I went, oh my God, well, what am I going to do now? And because they were all asking, they said, well, what is your experience? What lions have you held in the business? As you know, Skip, you've done that. And I said, well, none. And they said, well, so I've essentially worn the Bridgestone blinders for 26 years, representing no other companies. The terrific company. We have a very rich uncle by the name of Bridgestone Tire and Rubber. And that was a very comforting type of thing because it's all under the same umbrella. It's a Japanese-owned company, but we're a technology company. Nobody does a golf ball better than we do. And I had a lot of fun. 26 years, I'm calling on my buddies in the area in the state of Missouri, and great products to sell, and it worked out great.
Well, it started out great. And I mean, you think about Bridgestone and where it came from. I mean, it was really a start-up company in the game of golf, and they had Precept golf ball. I remember using it when Nick Price won his majors in the mid 90s. And that's kind of where the bread and butter was. Obviously it grew. Is there a particular year or particular line? I mean, now you got Bryson DeChambeau and Tiger Woods at the end.
Yeah.
That you knew Bridgestone made it, and you knew that was a really good year for Jim Mason in those 26.
We had a couple pretty good runs in those early 90s. You had Nick Price and Ray Floyd. They brought validity to the Bridgestone brand into Precept, right? You always want validity. And then we caught fire with the Lady Golf Ball of all things. I don't know if you remember that, but that was in the late 90s, and that became the most popular golf ball in golf for about a year and a half, close to 2 years. And I was going, wow, this is crazy. Then when a couple other things that happened with Bridgestone, we got away from the branding of Precept, and that happened in 2005, I think. And they decided they wanted a more premium brand, and they wanted to bring the name Bridgestone in. Freddie Couples was integral in kind of that decision as well, and he brought validity to our brand. And then we continued, pretty stable business, and then some ups and downs as it goes in the business. But we've always been very, very stable. We're a conservative company. Nobody wants to mess with our patents. That's what drives the ball business. But overall, it just was a good career. But we had, and of course now, and then late in my career, we signed Tiger Woods. I mean, that was such a boon to the company, as well as in Japan. And of course, he has some new challenges now. DeChambeau is an integral part of Bridgestone now. So they're always going to stay cutting edge. Whether or not they're going to get into the club business, I'm not sure. It kind of goes up and down with that, but it's a very, very good company.
That's very cool. Very cool. I like to I kind of queued you up when we were talking about what questions I'm going to ask, and I'm going to want. You don't have to do it, but I always like a little story about our fearless leader at the Metropolitan Golf Association, Mr. O'Toole, or Jim Holcree. If you've got one, I always would love to, because I love to poke the bear and needle a little bit. And I know you do as well. I know you do.
You got me thinking about that.
I will tell you that Jim told me that I'm supposed to ask you how you met your wife, and he takes all the credit for that.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, he takes all the credit for that. Of course, he takes all the credit for everything. Oh, he had a funny one. I think he played in the State Am at Winghaven not too long ago, or what?
Yeah, that's right. I did.
I think Jimmy won 2 matches, and his son was caddying for him, and he called me before his 3rd match, and he says, "Hey Jim, can you come caddy for me tomorrow?" And I said, "What do you want me to caddy for?" He said, "Well, you're a member out here. You know the course. I need some help." I said, "Okay, whatever. I'll caddy for you." And so he was just pure in it. I mean, he hadn't missed a shot on the range. He said he'd been playing very, very good in his first 2 matches as qualifying. He starts out the match just flushing it. He's getting a match with a kid. And I think they're even, but they were both 2, maybe 3 under par after 6 holes. And he hadn't missed a shot. We get to the 7th hole, and they'd move. I don't know if you remember the 7th hole. It's a short par 4. They'd move the tees up to the white tees. And he says, what do I do here? I said, "Well," I said, "What do you mean, what do you do here?" I said, "You haven't missed a shot since I've seen you. You put a driver in the ground, and you knock it on the green, and you're fine." He goes, "You sure?" I said, "Yeah, hit the driver." So he pulls out the driver, he snipe hooks it into the left weeds, and he looks at me and goes, "Oh, aren't you a great caddy?" And I said, I don't know what to tell you, Jim. And of course, he's never let me, I can't live that
Oh,
down. So, but he ended up losing that match too. So I've been in trouble with him ever since then. I haven't been called to caddy for him again.
well, if you're not in trouble with Jim, you're doing something wrong. Is what I
Oh,
always
I
say.
know, I know.
He's
Yeah,
fantastic. Well, Jim, I appreciate you doing this. Hey, I think a lot of people need to know, and I think we forget how great a player you were, how great you've been for our
yeah.
area in golf. You've been a fantastic mentor and somebody I've looked up to, and I am just through the
You're
moon.
very
You're
kind.
retired and doing well, and I hope we get to
Thank you.
talk or play golf again. You're as good in the 19th hole as anybody I can tell. I know that for a fact.
Well, I've got some good stories, so it's a fun game.
I appreciate it, Jim. Thanks for joining us on Skip and a Stick, Metropolitan Golf Report. That's Jim Mason. I'm
Thanks,
Skip
Skip.
Berkmeyer. See you next time. Thanks, guys.